Well, so you have this scenario where you walk into a bar and you sit down at the bar on the stool next to a stranger. You don't look at them, you just sit down. And you're about to order a drink. But before you can, the stranger speaks up. And they order 2 drinks. You think nothing of it at first. So the bartender grabs 2 drinks and gives it to the stranger. So they hand you one after they get them. You look at the drink, and then you look at the stranger. And you realize it's yourself. And so the question is, do you have a drink with yourself? That's a personal test I like to do every once in a while to see how I see myself. And that scenario tells you what you think about yourself now and what you think about your past self. Because self is who you are now plus your past self. Or who you were, because who you were then makes up who you are now. So the past is relevant but not dictating who you are now. It's a very reflective and profound test. Really short. And I think that's something I think too many people are either very critical or are not critical enough of themselves. They either reflect too much and get absorbed in it to where they become self-conscious, or they don't reflect at all and they make no self-development improvement. So, I think a good discipline or practice to partake in is reflection. You know, and I don't mean just kind of think about what you're doing in a few moments and go about your day, which that's not bad either. If that's what you can manage in your day to self-reflect, that's not such a bad thing. At least you're reflecting, right? In the mornings and in the afternoon when I'm smoking, I do quite a bit of reflection. Sometimes. Other times, like I said before, I use my smoking sessions to think about things. Sometimes it's not always self-reflection. But anyhow, Um, take time to reflect on yourself. You know, if it's just once a week or once a month, you know, the more frequently you do it, the more you have yourself in check. But you don't want to do it too much to where you're self-conscious and you can't, and you become hesitant to make actions. And take it from someone who has done that excessively. So, let's say once a week at most. At the end of the week. You know, Monday to Saturday. Or Sunday, however. You know, you, on that last day of your week, you take some time to sit there and think about how was your week? How could you have done things better? What was not necessary? What doesn't need improvement? What can you do to develop from not only mistakes, but things you did do? That way, you improve both ways. I think that test is a very good way to look at yourself, and here's why. Taking that drink says a lot. Taking that drink or denying it says a lot. If you take it, it says you're accepting of yourself and that you forgive yourself for things. And that you're willing to move on, and you're willing to befriend yourself and accept who you are. Things of that nature. Not accepting that drink. Now, there is no right or wrong answer. It just shows where you're at. Not accepting that drink says you're not happy with where you're at or who you have been. And it shows that you don't want to associate yourself with who you are. And that's okay in terms of answer, you know. It doesn't, I don't want to say it's not okay because you're not accepting yourself. If you're wanting to get better, that's okay, because that's where you need to start from. The first step to solving a problem is identifying there is one. And then, of course, we have being hesitant to take the drink or not take the drink. And that says you're not sure about yourself. That says you don't know what to think of yourself. On one hand, you do like this about yourself. On the other hand, you don't like that about yourself. You're conflicted. So then that's when you begin to ask deeper questions of, why do you not like yourself? Why do you like yourself? And what do you need to change to like yourself overall? I first thought of this when I was, I think, 18 or 19. It was around time that I was having, it was after high school, after my favorite year of school. And I asked myself this during a hardship. Um, I was sitting there and I thought to myself, would I have a drink with myself? And instantly, I mean, the very knee-jerk reaction answer I had was no. Because of who I was at the time, and certain things in the past that I've done and who I was in the past. Honestly, the second thing that came to mind was I would have taken that, if it was a bottle, I would have taken that bottle and smashed it over his head. And that says a lot. Now, if you have a reaction like that, that's another reaction, answer that says a lot, and of course that means that there's a lot of improvement that needs to be done. At least I got an answer. As long as you have an answer, then you can move forward. Now, if you're in the part where you don't know what to do, if you're hesitant, ask other questions. That way you can work on those problems, have solutions to those problems, and then come back and ask yourself if you would take the drink or not. Now, would I take the drink now? Probably. Now, I say it probably because I'm still working on some things, but that's a more solid answer than the one I just mentioned. So, ask yourself every once in a while, however frequently or and that's up to you for what works for you. What I want to say is find a time for a frequency of times you ask this yourself that suits you for when you need to reflect. If it's every day, not worry, not worryingly ask yourself, but just, sit down a day for about 15 minutes and just think. Or if, every 3 months, once a year, and just ask yourself that question and see where you end up.